I couldn't put her bed next to my chair. There's too many boxes. We've got boxes and boxes. So this Miss Smokey. We've got a box of mystery? Fiction? It's something. Welcome to the Dealer's Book Series. I'm Christina, K-O-S-T-I-N-A. This is where we read books, talk about books, no special effects, no theme music, none of that fancy smancy stuff going on here. Where's my glasses? Let's just get to this, shall we? And for the record, I have no idea what's in the box till I open it up. So I'm seeing it firsthand as you see it firsthand. You know, other people do unboxing videos on YouTube, and it's someone has sent them to them, or they've ordered something, so they know what's in the box. I do not know what's in the box when I get it. I am just given a box of books. And after this, they're going to get distributed to a couple different charities. But I have no idea what's in the box, and I have to open the box and go through it with you to see which items can go to which places. So let's get started here. Stephen Dobbins, A Novel Bourne Palace. The sleepy community of Brewster, Rhode Island is just like any other small American town. It's a place where most of the population will likely die blocks from where they were born, where gossip spreads like wildfire and the big entertainment on weekends is the inevitable fight at the local bar. But recently something out of the ordinary, perhaps even supernatural, has been stirring in Brewster. While packs of coyotes gather on back roads and news spreads that a baby has been stolen from Memorial Hospital and replaced in its bassinet by a snake, a series of inexplicable violent acts begins to confound Detective Woody Potter and the local police and inspire terror in the hearts and minds of locals. White Tiger on Snow Mountain. In these beautiful, brutal stories, David Gordon gets at the big stuff: art and religion, literature and madness, the supernatural and the dark fringes of sexuality, in his own unique, effortlessly funny, described as Rivka Gaussian as Dashiell Hammett, divided by Don Leo and the power of Dostoevsky. Okay. Carolyn Dunn, A Daisy Dalrymple Mystery, Gone West. It's the autumn of 1926. The Honorable Daisy Dalrymple Fletcher is contracted by an old schoolmate looking for a favor. Sybil Sutherly, long out of touch, was widowed by war and now lives in Derbyshire working as the confidential secretary to a novelist. Suspecting that something is seriously amiss in the household, Sybil asks Daisy to visit her Erie farm and discreetly investigate. Astray, Emma Donahue. A trainer coaxes his beloved elephant onto a ship carrying him to a life of fame. A mother searches for a baby girl sent away on a train headed west. A teenage soldier wrestles with his conscience far from home. These fascinating characters roam across the pages of Emma Donahue stories have all gone astray. Mm-hmm. Susan Dunlap, Switchback. When her Zen teacher is attacked in front of her by a silent hooded clad assailant, Daisy Lott feels uncharacteristically helpless. If she cannot identify Garson's attacker, she cannot protect him, for whoever it is will surely strike again. Another Carol. Done. Sheer folly. In March of 1926, Daisy Dalrymple Fletcher and her lady collaborator Lucy head off for several days at a stately home reputed to have the best grotto in the country. Working on a book of follies, the architectural kind that is, the two women plan to research and photograph the grotto, leaving her husband and young twins behind. Daisy is hoping for a productive weekend at Astra Hall, with no potential difficulties in sight, except perhaps for trying to stop Lucy from offending the current owner of the estate. A well-off manufactured plumbing products, a modest background. Alas, it's not so simple. Once on the estate, Daisy and Lucy find themselves faced with curious assortment of people, including the abominable, tactless Lord Rydell, who is rumored to be having an affair with one of the guests. Okay. The Rising Sun, Douglas Galbraith. In 1698, 5 vessels led by the flagship Rising Sun embarked on a perilous voyage for the northern coast of what is now Panama, with 2,000 passages intended to establish a settlement at Darien. With the hopes and fortunes of the nation of Scotland, which sought to build an overseas colony so that it could last compete on the world stage with its rival England. Only 300 would return alive. Fair play. Saddled with a man's name, the captivating Billy Jack Tate makes no apologies for pursuing a man's profession. As a lady doctor at the 1893 Chicago World's Fair, she is one step closer to having her very own medical practice until the doctor's an opposing man who threatens the fulfillment of her dream. Hunter is one of the elite, a Texas Ranger and a World's Fair guard specifically chosen for his height, physique, character. Hailed as the toughest man of the West. Excuse me. Kill that spider. Unholy Night. It's one of the most iconic images in history. 3 men on a camelback arriving at a manger bearing gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. An impossible bright star in the vast desert sky above. A moment of serenity and grace. A holy night. But who were those 3 wise men? The Bible has almost nothing to say about them. It doesn't even mention their names. Shall we find out who they were? The same guy that wrote Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter? After what? For 12 years, Carson Blake inhabited a world of his own creation, scorned by the father who was incapable of showing him affection and nearly consumed by the means of Prince George's County, Maryland. Carson did what no one else did. He saved himself. After joining the police force and building a family with his wife, Bunny, Carson is finally in control of his life. In the enclave where African American wealth and privilege share the same zip code with Black African American crime and tragedy. Both Carson and his wife have great careers and 3 beautiful children. But while Juan's astounding artistic talent is his father's pride, the boy's relationship with a classmate Will conjures up emotion and questions the Carson that threatens to spill over and poison the entire family. Okay. Rosemary Rowe, Whispering Spies. Galum dignitaries are in a spin. The wealthy Varus, ex-lictor to the imperial governor of Gal, has decided to retire to the town. Invitations have been issued for a welcome feast. How to respond? More importantly, where do the ex-lictor's riches come from? Ouch. Ouch. It's stuck. Alright. I could have used this for the gardening who's gardening cozies. The gardening books. Here we go. Southern Living Landscaping. It just fits in the box. Ah, good God. Uh, Right, R.J. Elroy, City of Lies. An immerse involving as early as Scorsese, The Wire, City of Lies is a tense and gripping novel with twists and turns more shocking than the last. Praised by the Financial Times for its vivid storytelling with a dark heart and angry conscience, R.J. Elroy takes on family betrayal, deception, and murder with a tremendous passion. After 17 years away from New York, John Harper has just made a discovery. The father he believed to be dead for more than 30 years is alive, lying in a coma in Manhattan Hospital. For Harper, returning home brings with memories of childhood, many of them painful, and yet he could have never prepared himself for the truth. Ah, Robert Ludlum, The Bourne Identity. I wonder if this is the first edition. It might be. It's signed, but not by the author. 1980 first edition. The man had been dragged from the sea, more corpse than man. He opened his eyes in the filthy room on the small island of Port Nor in the northern Mediterranean. The bullet wounds about his head had been cleansed by white, violent waters. There was one man in the room. He had waited for the moment when his extraordinary patient would come out of a coma. Okay. Paul Cleave, trust no one. Most of the world knows Jerry Gray by his crime pseudonym Harry Cutter, a name that's been keeping readers at the edge of their seats for more than a decade. But now that he's been diagnosed with Alzheimer's at the age of 49, his career may be coming to an end. Terror in the Taffeta. Wedding planner Kelsey McKenna is just a few hours away from wrapping up her latest job, a destination wedding in the charming colonial Mexican town of San Miguel. The reception is all set up. The tequila donkey is waiting outside, and the bride and groom are standing at the altar pledging their eternal love. But just as the priest is about to pronounce them husband and wife, one of the bridesmaids upstages the couple by collapsing into a floral arrangement. Definitely don't. Wedding assumes the girl hasn't fainted, she's just dead. That'll kill a wedding. 2016. Christopher R. Cox, A Good Death. This expertly crafted debut introduces Stephen Damon, a sharp-witted, though struggling Boston PI, who catches a case. Linda Watts is beautiful, talented Southeast Asian refugee with a promising career in finance, or she was until she turned up dead, the victim of a heroin ID in a cheap Bangkok guest house. Her death seems straightforward to the Thai authorities, but her insurance company isn't buying it, so they're sending Sebastian to investigate. Mary Dahim, The Alpine Zen. This picturesque town of Alpine in the foothills of Washington State's Cascade Mountains, home to Emma Lord and her weekly newspaper, The Alpine Advocate, has long charmed and enthralled mystery lovers. As an early summer heat wave beats down on Alpine, Emma and her staff are trending very lightly. For unfathomable reasons, the paper's house and home editor, Vidal, is in a major stint, refusing to speak to her colleagues or even her boss. So when a peculiar young woman walks in claiming her parents have been murdered and that she's in mortal danger too, it fits right in with the rest of the craziness. She 2015. Anne Rule, and Never Let Her Go. On June 27, 1996, 30-year-old Anne Marie Fishy, who was scheduled secretary for the governor of Delaware, had dinner with a man she had been in a secret affair for more than 2 years. Tommy, 47, was perhaps the most political powerful man in Washington, son of a wealthy contractor, former state prosecutor, partner in prestigious law firm, advisor to governors and mayors. Tom Capano had soft-spoken and considerate manner. Although recently estranged from his wife, he was a devoted father to his 4 beautiful young daughters, the son of his widowed mother and the backbone of extended family. But at 9:15 that night, when Anne Marie and Tom left the restaurant, something terrible happened to Anne Marie. It'll be 48 hours before anybody finds out. Justin Cronin, The City of Mirrors. The 1200 have been destroyed, and the terrifying 100-year reign of darkness has descended upon the world has ended. The survivors are stepping outside their walls, determined to build society anew and daring to dream of a hopeful future. But far from then is a dead metropolis awaits Zero. The first, the father of the 12, the anguish that shattered his human life haunts him, and his hatred spawned by his tremation burns bright. His fury will be quenched only when he destroys any Humanity Only Hope. Okay. 2016. Twain's End. In March of 1909, Mark Twain cheerfully blessed the wedding of his private secretary, Isabel, and his business partner, Ralph. 1 month later, he fired both and proceeded to write a ferocious 429 rant about the pair, calling Isabel a liar, a forger, a thief, a hypocrite, a drunk, and a sneak, a humbug, a traitor, a conspirator. Twain and his daughter Clara Clemens then slandered Isabel in newspapers, erasing nearly 47 years of devoted service to their family. So what happened next? Angels make their hope here. Brenda Clark. Russell Knob is not paradise, but already in 1849, this New Jersey Highland settlement home is to a diverse population of black, whites, and reds who have intermarried and live in relatively peace. It is a haven for Darcy Bird, who has escaped north along the Underground Railroad and now feels the embrace of the Smoot family. Duncan Smoot presides an accidental patriarch, protector of an enterprising sister, and Hattie and two rambunctious nephews. As Darcy bustles herself with cleaning, cooking, and tending the chickens at Duncan home, she wonders, could this man, her rescuer, so godlike in his eyes, so much older than she, could she become his helpmate? Darkness, the Color of Snow. Thomas Cobb. Out on a rural highway on a freezing night, patrolman Robert Forney sits in his 10-year-old Crown Victoria, trying to keep warm and make time pass until his shift ends. Then a familiar beater Jeep comes speeding over the hill, forcing the rookie cop to chase it. The driver is his old friend turned nemesis Matt. The rogue son of a man has beaten down the town itself. Within minutes, what begins as a clear-cut arrest for drunk driving spirals into a heated struggle between the two men with a troubled past and ends in a fatal hit and run. The Race for Paris. Meg Wade Clayton. Opening in Normandy on June 29, 1944, The Race for Paris follows two American female war correspondents on their quest to document history by converting the Allied liberation of Paris. Jane is a young single journalist for the National Banner. While she's assigned to cover the field hospital, she meets Olivia, Associated Press photographer. However, unlike the male colleagues, Liv and Jane are constantly confronted by red tape and diversion because the military believes women cannot handle the rigors of combat journalism. Stephen R. Donaldson, The King's Justice. In The King's Justice, a stranger dressed in the black arrives in the village of Settles Crossways following the scent of a terrible crime. He calls himself Black, though most certainly that is not his name. While the desire of inhabitants of the quiet village to cooperate with strangers is not common in their land or most lands, people find that they have a surviving urge to cooperate with the stranger. Sisters of Treason. Isabel Fremantle. That's a good paper, too. Lady Catherine and Lady Mary are reeling after their eldest sister, the 17-year-old Lady Jane Grey, is brutally executed. The Tudor blood is now more a curse than a blessing. Queen Mary's succession is by no means stable. Many covet the crown, and some say the Grey sisters have a better claim to the throne than the Queen. Neither sister is well suited to a dangerous life at court. Flirtatious Lady Catherine, thought to be the true heir, cannot control her compulsion to love and be loved, and the clever Mary has a crooked spine and tiny stature. The Death of Desert Belle. In the dusty Arizona hamlet of Desert Belle, a mysterious explosion levels half of the adobe jail. It appears the notorious Bishop brothers have made good on their threat to escape before they could be brought to jail. I know this guy. Dean Koontz, Breathless. In the stillness of a golden September afternoon, deep in the wilderness of the Rockies, a solitary craftsman, Grady Adams and magnificent Irish wolfhound Merlin step from the shadow into light. and into an encounter with enchantment. That night, though, the trees under the moon, a pair of single animals will watch Crady's isolated home to make their approach. A few miles away, Camilla Rivers, a local veterinarian, begins to unravel the threads of a puzzle that will bring to her doorstep all the forces of the government. Pearl. Margaret Duffy, Corpse in Waiting. To decide to holiday in Bath when you live not 10 miles down the road might be regarded as eccentric, but Ingrid Langley and her husband and colleague Matt Gillard, late of M15, now working for the serious organization crime agency, badly need a break. Patrick is recovering from a serious illness, and Ingrid, who would not describe herself as a spring chicken, is getting over having a baby. Although the holiday proceeds sedately, troubled, their old friend is never far away. Ingrid tries to not feel jealous when they bump into Patrick's old flame, Alexandria Nightingale, at a Roman experience Toga provided. But when Alexandra requests Patrick's help with her Bath property hunt, Ingrid joins them on the viewing, only to open a collaborated clapboard in dissipated property and make a gruesome discovery. Margaret Duffy, Tainted Ground. Writer and sometime British agent Ingrid Langley is worried about her husband since leaving the army. He attempts to find a new career on meeting with depressing failure. That is until he receives an offer from the Home Office to join the police. Uh, Starcraft, Flashpoint, Christy Golden. Jim, I know what I did. I remember Billions dead because of me. That was not you, Jim said. That was the Queen of Blades. What they made you into, you're back to being Sarah again, and we're together, so just hush. He had put off touching the strange technicals that adorned her head in place of her hair. Everything else was so human. So much that the woman he remembered, but now he did so, keeping fingers entwined with his, as he reached with his other hand to stroke the spiny probe. I can't even pronounce it, sorry. State of Grace. Tracy DEPREE. Kate and Paul Hamlins are settling into their new life in Copper Hill, but when the people of Fair Braith Church gather for the first time in their newly rebuilt sanctuary, Kate notices something missing. She begins working on a surprise for the church, but her plan is disrolled when she learns of Patrick Harris' widow, whose daughter Marissa is suffering from leukemia. Kate tries to show Patricia God's mercy, but soon discovers the grieving woman harbors a terrible secret. Bad Blood, Annie Dahl. When a Swedish literary critic is found tortured to death in a janitor's closet at Newark International Airport, the police realize that the murder made off with the victim's ticket and boarded trip to Scotland. Tiger Rag, Christopher Nichols, Christopher. Um, New Orleans, 1900. The virtuoso cornet player Charles Buddy Bolden invents jazz, but after a life consumed by tragedy, the groundbreaking sound of the horn vanishes with him. Rumors persist, though the Bolden recorded a phonograph cinder, and over the course of a century, it evolves into a elusive holy grail of jazz. The Town That Came a Courtin', Rhonda Rich. Folks around Dexter, Georgia, where Abby Houston grew up, say the obituary writer turned Wild World bestselling author is the luckiest woman in her life. How else to explain all her good fortune? Her mama, though, has a different take. Lucky in life means unlucky in love. Elizabeth Darrell, The Chinese Puzzle. Two members of a British regiment are murdered by the injection of an unknown toxin. At the same time, a senior officer in possession of NATO secrets vanishes from a high security base in Germany. Is he the killer or a third victim as of yet undiscovered? Oh, did you see any authors you recognized? I think I mentioned the one or two I knew. So I think there was two or three in here I recognized, but the rest of them I had no clue. Did you recognize anybody? Let me know. Let me know. Have a good one. These boxes are so full of surprises. Have a good one.